Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to our National Cybersecurity Month presentation. I appreciate everyone coming this morning. And we're going to share some interesting tips with you about how to stay safe on the internet. One thing I'd like to point out to you. You recall or remember when either yourselves were young or when your children were young, one of the first things that you taught them before crossing the street, it said, look both ways. The same rule applies with the internet. We want to be sure to look both ways. From what standpoint? The information that you give out and the information that you allow to come in to your internet. Look both ways. Be safe on the internet. And that's what we're going to share with you today. Some interesting tips, some useful tips about how to be safe on the internet. We're going to present to you first Pete Hernandez, and after Pete we're going to give you Ty Tran. We're going to present some information that's very useful to you. So now let's give our attention to Pete Hernandez.
Hello everybody, how are you doing? All right. I'm going to present some useful steps here on how to create a secure password. You know, we all have logins for Gmail and Yahoo, and you know, you got your bank accounts, you got your all sorts of accounts logins online. So this will help you stay secure online. First of all, by following a few simple steps, you can prevent hackers from easily cracking your passwords. The DCCD website has procedures online that you can follow, and basically the steps that I'm going to present here are all on there too. You can either search for create password, or we have a website down here that you can go to on the district website. First of all, make sure you're not using common passwords. A lot of people use dictionary words, which is very common. You use spouses' names. They use name of their dog or birth dates. These kinds of things are easily crackable, and you can use the dictionary and crack programs to crack these. Now, who here uses a strong password of maybe 8 characters or more? Anybody? Back there in the back? Okay. 3? That's good. Very good. Joyce back there? Yeah, Joyce. So these are some of the common passwords that are used. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. QWERTY is a combination of the top row of the keys. I love you, monkey. Things like these are easily crackable, and you don't want to use these kinds of passwords. You can go online and search, maybe on google.com. You can search for the 30 most common passwords, and it'll show you a list of passwords on there that if maybe one of your passwords is there, you might want to go ahead and change your password. Another thing is, make your password long. You know, the longer it is, the more complex it is, and the harder it is for hackers to crack your password. You want to meet and exceed the minimum length of requirement for passwords. Anybody have an idea how long that should be? Any guesses on how long? 6, a little bit higher. 8 is the minimum, at least. Especially on DCCD website is what they require, is at least 8. Here's a little way to create a password. It's a little hint here. You choose maybe 8 words or 8 chunks of words, and use the first word, the first character of each word, and then you can create a password with this. For example, I have 4 keys on my keychain. You take the first letter, I, H, number 4, you have a number in there, K, O, M, K, and then an exclamation to make it even more complex. And you have a password here. You wanted to add keychain, maybe make it 9 characters and even be even more complex. And here you go, you got Bart Simpson. I will not use the same password for everything. How many here are guilty of that? I am too, so don't use the same password for everything. One successfully cracked password will be weakness to all your security measures. So that's a good reason why not to use the same password. Another reason is it leaves you vulnerable, and you want to make sure that you use several different passwords to prevent this. Now you say, well, okay, I have 20 different logins. How am I going to create 20 different passwords, right? How am I going to remember that? Well, you can invent a system to generate a password. Here's a little system I found out that you can follow. You start with a base password that's going to be the same for everything. In this example, we have AB12CD, right? And it could be anything. You can make a word in there that you know, maybe change up the letters a little bit, put a number or two, but always keep the same one. Then you're going to create a rule for attaching characters depending on what the services you're using. For example, if you're using Gmail, you could put GML on the end there. Or if it's Facebook, FCB, you know. Maybe Walgreens is WLG. It all depends on what the site it is you're logging into. And then on the end there, you create your password, AB12CDGML, AB12CDFCB. That way you only have to remember what the service is you're logging into. Make sure you change it often. This is important for two reasons. Switching passwords a few times a year makes it more difficult for your account to be hacked. I'm going to show you here in a little demonstration that you can take passwords and then try to crack them with a utility. So if you switch your passwords, it makes it that much harder for a hacker to try to find out what your password is, because by the time they hack it, you may have already changed it. So let me go ahead and show you that. For example, here we have a couple of users. Test user 3 is using 3 letters for a password. With this utility, I can go here and do a brute force attack on him. And boom, I already have his password. It's just PAS. Almost took like less than a second. This thing can calculate 6 million passwords per second. So if you have a simple password, that's not going to last very long. We'll try one with 5, and we'll see how much it changes there. We'll switch that down to 5 there. And see here, you could tell how many minutes it's going to take. Eventually, it'll get less and less, and there you go. Pass 1 is the password. 7, which is right below what the requirement is, will show you how much exponentially it goes up. We'll do a hack on that guy. And we get the time left, 3 hours. And it fluctuates as it goes through its calculations. So in this situation, seven passwords is 3 hours it takes for it to crack it. So if somebody left their desk and somebody came back and tried to run this program, they could essentially get your password within 3 hours. So that's why we ask a little bit higher than that. Let's go to 8 or 9 actually. There we go. And see how exponentially higher that one goes. We'll go to 9 there. Now, as you can see there, it's got 176 between 180 days. So with 9 characters, you've actually gone from hours with 7 to 9 is now this many days. So that's why it's important to also change your password several times a year, because essentially somebody could, if they're determined enough, could crack your password in 170 days if they wanted to. Okay?
Okay, so we can definitely see why strong passwords are very important, because there are some unscrupulous people out there who are trying to, at some point in time, get your information. So again, We want to be careful and look both ways when we're going out on the internet, as well as when information is trying to come into the internet, to us from the internet as well. We're going to also show you another little slideshow. Ty Trina is going to share some information with you about why it is important, even more so, but when you're sharing information with individuals, when they're asking you questions on the internet, why it's important that you read carefully what they're saying before you give out any information on the internet. Let's give our attention to Ty Trina.
Okay, again, I'm going to go over some of the slides on this to show you what you should do and shouldn't do when you get on the internet. I mean, even though we know internet is kind of like a very good vehicle that for you to communication, that you can send email by sitting anywhere and send it to somebody way over to Japan or somewhere else within a few minutes. But the drawback of it, like if you give out so much information, somebody gonna hack on it and get your information. But this is some of the steps that we can prevent, like understanding the risks, and then the step to internet security. Then I will go over going to protect yourself tomorrow, and by almost the end, we're going to talk about the resource that what we're going to use to prevent some of the information that the computer going to collect from what you're using on the internet. So let's start out with the first one. Who are these cyber criminals? So basing on this one here, pretty much the first one, many are well-respected business or professional people. Just like me, if I going to sit here and talk to you or anybody else out there, they can be one of them. Somebody going to be a predator, maybe act along or maybe in the loose group. And then the middle man, that the person that collect all the people information, then sell those data to anybody willing to pay for it. So for instance, if I go and ask Jennifer, what's your last name, Jennifer? I forgot. Okay. Now, did you tell me that what your phone number that I tried to get information from last time you told me? Can you tell me your phone number? Yes. So that's it. That's good. See, that's what I'm trying to do here. What I'm trying to do is try to see if I'm going to collect your information. So that's one thing that everybody out there, they can just sweet talk with you or something like that to get your personal information and hack on your system there. So that's a good way to prevent it. It's a high-risk collection of information like survey or profile that you shouldn't give out certain information, like for instance, your full street address when you fill it out. Let's say you buy some item from Best Buy or somebody else out there, and they ask you to fill out the information that for warranty or something like that. And some information you don't want to fill it in there because that, remember the middleman information, some company that may collect information and sell it to somebody else. So to prevent that, like for instance, if you go out and if anybody using what they call Facebook or any accounts on the internet for social, and they always ask you to fill out your profile. Right? Might recommend it if I'm using the Facebook, I gonna put in the information that is like my date of birth or stuff like that. I don't fill in the correct information on it. But I want to make sure whatever I fill in, I keep track of it. So that way when my account log out, they're gonna send you an email to reset the password or something, then you have those information to fill in. But do not, like on Facebook, do not put in your full address or your date of birth and stuff like that. So those information that you don't want to provide to pretty much everybody out there. So that's the don't, that you don't want to do it. And the next slide here talking about understanding the risk. So even though for all the computer here or at home, you have software that say antivirus software, firewall, those things that install on your system and set it up. But if you basing on those software and say, hey, my computer going to be real secure, it's not true, because if you provide your bank information, somebody try to hack into you, from time to time you're going to see some email that people send it out and say, I need to reset your password or something. We just upgrade the system and we need to do that. Yes, sir. Yeah, because those predators outside, they can pretty much basing on if you provide your bank account information, give away your identity or your personal address, and they can basically using those information and get into your personal information there. And the next slide here talking about what you expose about yourself and others. So like for some vendor out there that they ask you to provide on their profile, like your feeling, photo, video, your hobby, and again, the last one here, birthday, location, marriage information. If you provide those information, 9 out of 10 that they're going to hack in your system and get in your identity. So make sure, don't do those information if they ask for it. Even though if you're going to figure it out, just make up something and put it in there. And keep the record for yourself just in case if you need to go back in and reset the account later on. This slide here shows you how you are putting yourself at risk. So when you get on the internet, you are basically getting request information outside. They have two different routes going inbounds and outbounds, right? The inbound is the spam and virus spyware. Those information when you get on the internet, your system pretty much open up for those virus and spamware coming in. And the outbounds is the information that you're going to give it out. I got the graphic right here show you. The green circle here I show you that how the inbound coming in, or the spamware and spyware. If you get into a certain website that you don't want to get in and click on it, that will get into your system. The outbound example here is like for your kid, if they provide people information like your date of birth or other stuff, that's the outbound going out. So that's how you put yourself at risk. So if you keep in mind some information that you don't want to provide, then make sure that the outbound does not go out that way. Okay. Yes. So Vanessa bring up the email that somebody sent you on the subject, maybe say hello or something else that kind of like that you probably know the person that you don't recognize. Any email that sent to you that you're not recognized with that subject, then go ahead and delete them, because that's our campus and digital CD suggest don't open any email that you're not recognized. Just go ahead and delete them. Okay, now this slide here shows you how information add up. So let's say, for instance, if you go ahead and using Facebook, again, I go with Facebook here, that you post your picture out there. And when you create your account, and you be real careful, all you do is just provide your first name, your age, and your photo. But when you post your information out there and your friend or whoever that able to access to that email, that picture or Facebooks, if they're going to reply back and comment on your picture, and they're going to put in your last name. If they're going to add that information on there, remember on the previous slide I told you don't put in your full name, right? So if somebody out there can get your full name, they can using the white page service on the internet, they can put your full name in there and search, and more than likely they are able to locate where you live. So make sure when you go in, understanding of what kind of information risk they are. What you can do to mitigate or avoid the risk is do the following. Let's say if you go and create an account from Facebook, the default is set up to everyone. So everybody able to go ahead and see whatever the picture or comment that you posted back and forth between your friend or whoever. Make sure you go in there. There's an option that you can set it up. One for personal journal, or just for like you can set it up that for family only. So only the member of your family within Facebook can see those pictures and comment back and forth. Or you can go a little bit more open up, is you can set up with a friend of the family. So that means there's a second level, is like yourself, your family member, and your friend, the only one can see it, nobody else. And then you can go all the way down. If you want to, you don't care, then you can set up to everybody. So everybody can see your information, can see your business. So sometimes you don't want to do that, right? So those are options that you can go and set it up to mitigate the problem there. Another one is if you want to share your profile to group of people that you do not know, you need to do this before you do that. Let's say you share all the information with your family, and then later on you say, hey, maybe my kid or the grandkid birthday picture so cute, I want to send it and share it out to everybody. What you need to do first, make sure that you archive your old information, maybe copy them, delete them, before you go ahead and open up and let other people access your account. So that's the second suggestion that to do. Be aware of what you might give away in your photo label. What that does is, like, sometimes when you take a picture in front of your house and they have your house address or the street name that is standing next to it, then people may be able to track you down too. So be careful with that. The last one here that I want to bring it up is, depending on the provider, let's say for Facebook, when you go in there, or anybody else, you go in and using it, make sure they do provide the following, like clear privacy, security policy, tool for protection, and responsive for report abuse. So you want to make sure you're using somebody that they're willing to address those problems. You don't want to go out, even though freebie out there, but if they don't address those problems, then you're going to have more problems later on for your account. So those are things that I want to bring it up about the staff for safety. The last thing I want to go over here is the resource. You know, when you get on internet, you're browsing on internet, you can hear the term about cookie and temp file that coming down to your internet, to your computer. Now, what cookie does, let's say I give you an example here. Let's say if I go out there and try to go ahead and looking for a rental car, and I was sitting there and searching it, even though I just go and pick Ava's. But the cookie go and collecting your information, so searching the car rental. Next thing you know, suddenly the other rental car pop up and offer you the rental. Maybe cheaper, maybe a little bit more, offer additional packet and stuff like that. So that's what cookie does. It collect your information and it build it up in your system. Now, what we have here, that one thing you can do when you're browsing the internet, what I did on it, I'm using the in private mode. Anybody know what the difference using that and the regular browse? Okay. The in private mode, what it does for you is when you select that option, it will not collect your data, your cookie. So that's a neat thing to do. You want to use that anywhere, like if you go to a library or any computer out there, open lab, anything that you want to browsing some personal stuff, using in private mode. That way it won't collect information that you try to search for it. When you restart the system, it's gone. Okay, that's one thing to do it. Another thing, now there's a program out there I'm using, it's a shareware, it's called CCleaner. That program, what it does, again, like I say, when you browsing the internet, it collect cookie, temp file, and then you need to know where to go and then delete those files. That program right there, the CCleaner, what it does, when you go in there, that's the website that I go up there and download it, filehippo.com. And what it does, it go in there and they go and clean up those folders for you. Rather than go one folder at a time and delete those cookies, when you install the program, you can set it up and you run it, and it basically go in and just wipe out those cookie and temp file for you. And I use it at home all the time. I even told my kid to do it. Every time they get on internet, and when they're done with internet browsing on the computer, before they shut the computer down, they need to run that. So that way we'll clear out all the cookie and all other temp file that you've been browsing on it. Okay. If you go up to your website and just do file hippo, F-I-L-E, hippo.com, that will take you to the website that have all the shareware, and you can go in there and download it and install that. So if anybody need help to do that, we have all the gentlemen right here within our IT team. They can assist you guys to do it. All right. So let's see anything else. I guess we get to a point that maybe, Heron, you want to come up and talk about the debit card and gift card information that you can set out.
Okay, who shops at like Walmart, Walgreens? Who has a card like this maybe? Well, do you know what this card is really for, other than giving you discounts? It's collecting information, which is good. So sometimes you can go back or you may receive coupons for that. So they're just storing your information. But the reason for the cards is, have you seen the ones that you can buy that has the Visa logo on it? I encourage anyone that's shopping this Christmas holiday to look and see what you want to buy, figure out how much it is, and purchase a Visa logo card rather than using your bank account. Has anyone ever used their bank account online and had to shut that account down? Nobody? Well, I did. So I had to basically get a brand new card because someone took my card information offline and started charging it. So instead of me now using my personal card, I buy a gift card that's $100 and I'll spend that online versus using my regular card. All right, that's my tip for today. If you ever get gas, make sure that you get your receipt before you leave. A lot of people leave their receipts in there, and sometimes people get information off of that. And now there's new devices that's out there to where if you're in a public location and someone wants to get your credit card information, there's a box and they can be from this distance and get every credit card number that you have on you. That's the reason why they sell this little box. It has protection to protect the decoding from the card information being exposed. So be real careful about having your credit card and not getting your receipts whenever you leave a location. There's so many different things that people have figured out. I would just say use your card wherever you feel like it's safe, and/or purchase a prepaid card and use it around places you know where it's not right. Like for instance, my neighbor, they just came from out of town. They used their card in Florida, and yesterday they were getting charges on their card, but they had already been back here 6 months. So somebody collected that information, waited for a little while, and started reusing that. So they made a duplicate card of their card. So what Mr. Todd Trent was talking about, not giving out your full name, if you leave that receipt, guess what they have? Your full name. They can see how much you spent. Well, I'm gonna pass it on to my colleague here.
Hello. How many of you guys get pop-ups? What do you do when you get the pop-up? Do you ever read what it's asking you to do before you click on X, or well, it's probably good to read the information first, because sometimes the information is misleading. When you think you're clicking on no to say no to something, you're actually saying yes to it and allowing them to get in to your system. So always read what they're saying before you just click. And what do you do when you get the free pop-ups, like you want a free card or $100 at Walmart? Do you fill all that information out? A lot of times you need to make sure you don't fill it out, because that's a way of them getting information from you guys and selling it and stuff like that.
Good information, good points, good tips from the tech team. Just kind of like a recap. We learned to look both ways when you're on the internet. Strong passwords. Your computer has an antivirus, but we also recommend the malware, just to keep information from coming in that's not wanted. As you say, the cookies, temp files, information that you give out. Be careful what information you give out on the internet, because as they state, they do collect that information, and it could be harmful to you if you get into the wrong hands. Just another little tip. We all have what is called, someone mentioned about the cards, credit cards, and I know that we all have the little cards like from Albertson and Kroger. Recall those little cards? And every time we go to the store, we'll scan them just to get a little discount. But do you know there's also a way that they're collecting information from us? Do you know you get in the mail those coupons and you buy a dozen of eggs and you have a specific type of eggs, or you get some type of shampoo and they know, you say, how do they know I like Head and Shoulders shampoo? Because every time we swipe our card, right behind it, we're scanning that Head and Shoulders shampoo. They're collecting information. So just a little tidbits of being careful for the information we give out on the internet, because this day and time, electronic age, information is so widespread. So any other questions, anything anyone like to share or have in mind? Any questions for the tech team?
How the hackers operate to get you information, to get you money?
To get your money? Just like what I think it was Pete who mentioned, they have tools that they use, and we say not tools from the standpoint of internet tools that they can use that can scan computers. And they get your password. Once they get your password, they may get into your information and they'll scan your computer. All kind of like what Earl mentioned. If you click on a pop-up and say something is free, and you say, yes, I like to have it. When you download that pop-up, you in essence giving the hacker information or access to your computer. And so he, in essence, will scan your computer for the information, your name, your home address, your phone number. So those are ways that we give out information to, that they collect information.
To your account, to your debit account?
One of the debit accounts is, I think it was Heron had mentioned, when your bank, you think it's your bank, sending out a request saying I need your password or your account number for verification, don't give it out. Delete that. Always call your bank and ask them, did you call me? Did you send me an email? Or you say,
Actually withdraw money from the computer to some other account, or do they actually go to the ATM?
again, it's been advertised on television to be careful even at ATMs. Because some day and times, I've seen on television where at a gas station they had a little device that they would collect information when you scan your card. They would collect that code. So this day and time, you have to be careful everywhere you go electronically.
Whatever it is, somehow they want to get to your saving or checking account.
Yes.
To withdraw money from there.
Be careful. I check my account every other day. Every other day.
You might not have no money.
Yeah, I may not have any, that's right. Check and see if it's still zero. Well, we surely appreciate you coming today for Tech Talk, and we look forward to another event in the future, okay?